My boss told me, act as my husband for a year. I asked, do we really have to share a bed? Working aboard the research station Aurora, orbiting the gas giant Serenys 9, was challenging, but at least it was safe. At least she thought so. Her boss, Orion Kale, was anything but predictable. Charismatic, sharp, and intimidating all at once, he had a reputation across multiple star systems. He was the kind of man who could make a room silent with a glance, yet charm the most stubborn diplomats with a single word. And unfortunately for Ilara, today he had fixed that glance on her. "Ilara," Orion said, leaning against the edge of her workstation, his dark eyes narrowing slightly, "I have a proposal for you." Ilara blinked at him, unsure if her mind had registered correctly. "A proposal," she repeated, her voice cautious. "Yes," he said, his tone calm but firm. "I need you to act as my husband for a year." The words hit her like a meteor strike. She stared at him, processing. "Excuse me, what?" Orion tilted his head slightly, as if her confusion amused him. "For the upcoming diplomatic mission to Zythera, the local council requires that any human representatives must appear to have a family unit. They believe that human social bonds indicate stability and intelligence." Ilara's brain spun. She had read extensively about alien customs, but she had never imagined a situation like this. Pretending to be someone's spouse, for a year, and with Orion Kale of all people. "And you want me to be your husband?" she asked slowly, her tone a mix of disbelief and irritation. "Yes," he replied simply. "It's purely ceremonial. We won't be sharing any inappropriate intimacy. I expect professionalism, but the council wants appearances, not reality." "You are brilliant, analytical, and adaptable, all traits they respect. They will trust us more if I present a family unit, and you are the perfect choice." Ilara pinched the bridge of her nose. She could feel her pulse quickening. She wanted to refuse immediately. She wanted to run from this absurdity and hide in her lab. But then he mentioned the reward. "The Zytheran archives," Orion said, his tone almost persuasive. "No human has had full access before. If we succeed, you will be the first to study their entire database. Think of the discoveries, the research possibilities, the breakthroughs." Her resolve wavered. The thought of accessing alien knowledge that could revolutionize human understanding was nearly irresistible. Ilara was always curious, always ambitious. And this was the opportunity of a lifetime. She took a deep breath and asked, almost hesitantly, "Do we really have to share a bed?" Orion's expression flickered briefly, a shadow of amusement crossing his face. "No," he said, "we are professionals. I expect boundaries to be maintained, but you must appear as a legitimate couple in public and in ceremonial situations." Ilara nodded slowly, still trying to convince herself this was a good idea. "A year," she muttered. "A full year pretending we're married." "Yes," he said, straightening. "Starting immediately. Departure is in 3 days." The next hours were a whirlwind. Ilara's mind raced with questions, doubts, and calculations. How would they convince the Zytherans of their marital bond? How could she tolerate being around Orion constantly for a year? And how could she reconcile her professional dignity with this charade? Her first instinct was to research the Zytherans, which was, naturally, a task she excelled at. The aliens were humanoid but taller, with silvery blue skin and luminous eyes that shifted color with emotion. They communicated through subtle telepathy, projecting emotions and thoughts rather than words. Social customs were strict, and any sign of dishonesty could be catastrophic. Ilara quickly realized that their mission would not just test her acting skills, it would test her ability to understand, adapt, and think faster than anyone ever had to before. Humans, she mused, had always been underestimated by other species. Perhaps now, her species' unpredictable creativity would finally prove invaluable. When Orion returned to discuss logistics, he found her already buried in research notes, highlighting communication patterns, ceremonial rules, and behavioral signals. "Impressive," he said, raising an eyebrow. "I didn't expect you to start so quickly." "I need to know what I'm dealing with," Alara replied. "If we're going to convince the Zytherans, I need to understand their rules better than they do, and I won't fail." Orion's expression softened slightly. "I knew you were sharp, but I see now just how tenacious you are." Alara ignored the faint blush rising to her cheeks and continued her work. She had learned early in her career that success required focus, not emotion, but even she couldn't ignore a small twinge of curiosity. Who was Orion Kale, really, behind the commanding presence? And more importantly, could she survive a year pretending to be married to him? 3 days later, they boarded the sleek transport ship Starlance, bound for Zythera. The ship's hum was constant, a soothing vibration that reminded Alara that in space, time and distance had a rhythm all their own. Orion sat across from her, reviewing mission data, his calm focus both reassuring and unnerving. "I hope you're ready for this," he said finally, glancing at her. "The Zytherans are observant. Every gesture, every expression, every microreaction will be analyzed. You must be convincing." Alara nodded. "I'm not worried about convincing them," she said. "I'm worried about convincing myself that I can survive pretending to be, well, your husband." Orion chuckled softly, a low sound that seemed to resonate with the hum of the ship. "Then we'll need rules, boundaries, schedules, and strategies. Humans are adaptable. That's one reason the Zytherans respect your species. Let's show them why." And so, the rules were set. They would share living quarters on the ship, appear together for ceremonial briefings, and act as a couple in every formal setting. But otherwise, distance and professionalism would be maintained. Alara mentally prepared herself for months of this delicate balance, already strategizing for possible social scenarios and diplomatic tests. As they approached Zythera, the alien planet glimmered below, a swirl of violet clouds and crystalline oceans. Alara couldn't help but feel a thrill of excitement. This was more than a mission. This was a chance to show the universe what humans could do, how resourceful, clever, and uniquely adaptable they were. Orion noticed the glint of determination in her eyes and smiled faintly. "You're not just brilliant," he said quietly, almost to himself. "You're human." Alara caught his words but didn't respond. Instead, she stared at the planet below, already imagining the challenges that awaited. Pretending to be married for a year might have seemed ridiculous on Earth, but here, among the stars and alien eyes, it was a test. A test not only of appearance but of intelligence, courage, and human ingenuity. And Alara was determined to pass. The first night aboard Starlance, she sat in her quarters, staring at her reflection in the metal wall. Pretending to be someone's spouse for a year was daunting, but she reminded herself, humans were not only clever and resilient, they were unpredictable. And unpredictability, she thought with a small smile, might just save them both. For the first time in her life, Alara realized that the universe didn't just need humans to explore it. The universe needed humans to challenge it, to surprise it, and to conquer it in ways no one, alien or human, had imagined before. And perhaps, surviving Orion Kale's company for a year might be the ultimate demonstration of human resilience. The transport ship Starlance descended through Zythera's violet clouds like a silver arrow. Outside the viewport, crystalline oceans shimmered under a pale lavender sun, and towering mountains glittered with minerals unknown to human science. Dr. Alara Voss pressed her forehead to the glass, her eyes wide with awe. This planet, alive, alien, and beautiful, was unlike anything she had ever seen. Orion Kale stood behind her, his usual calm demeanor unchanged, but even he seemed to pause for a moment to take in the view. "Impressive," he said, his voice quiet, almost reverent, "and dangerous. Don't let the beauty fool you. Every Zytheran custom has a purpose, and violating even one can have serious consequences." Alara nodded. She had studied their telepathic communication patterns extensively, but reading about a species and interacting with it were two entirely different things. "I know," she replied. "I've memorized their greeting sequences, social cues, and emotional signals. I just didn't expect it to be this stunning." Orion gave a small, approving nod. "Good. Awe can be a tool if you control it. It can disarm suspicion." As the Starlets docked at the floating landing platform above the Zytheran capital, a group of the aliens awaited them. They were taller than humans by nearly a foot, with elongated limbs and silvery blue skin that seemed to shift slightly with the light. Their luminous eyes flickered between hues of soft gold and deep indigo as they assessed the newcomers. Ilara's heart beat faster, but she forced herself to breathe slowly. She and Orion stepped forward, side by side, practicing the subtle gestures they had rehearsed: small bows, synchronized smiles, and calm, confident posture. The aliens observed quietly, projecting faint waves of curiosity and caution that Ilara could sense thanks to her study of their telepathic signals. The leader, a tall Zytheran named Thalen, extended a long, slender hand in a greeting. "Welcome, humans," he said, his voice resonating in a soft, musical cadence. "Your arrival is anticipated. We have studied your species. We are curious." Ilara shook his hand carefully, noting the way his fingers seemed almost weightless, like touching the air itself. "Thank you," she replied politely. "We are honored to visit Zythera. I am Dr. Ilara Voss, and this is Orion Kale, my partner." Orion's eyebrow quirked slightly at her hesitation, but he smiled confidently. "Partner," he repeated, nodding to reinforce the term. "We are here to learn, to cooperate, and to show respect for your culture." Thalen's eyes flickered, and for a moment, Ilara felt the faintest ripple of amusement in the Zytheran's mind. Humans were curious indeed. "Very well," Thalen said finally. "Follow me. Your quarters have been prepared. The ceremonial introduction will begin shortly. You will observe and participate fully." Their quarters were unlike any human accommodation. Sleek, transparent walls shifted opacity with a thought, controlling light and privacy. The furniture was minimalistic yet elegant, adapting to their weight and body shapes. Small floating devices hovered in the corners, projecting soothing colors and soft ambient sounds. Ilara ran her fingers along the smooth surface of the bed, resisting the urge to test the gravity control. She was still adjusting to the idea of sharing space with Orion for the first time. "This is different," she muttered, mostly to herself. Orion leaned against the wall, watching her. "It will be fine. We have rules, boundaries. You focus on the mission. I'll handle the social appearances." Ilara glanced at him, noting the rare flicker of sincerity in his eyes. She had always thought of Orion as untouchable, a man whose life was entirely governed by logic and authority. But now she saw something else, a hint of awareness, a recognition that they were about to face something unpredictable together. The ceremonial introduction was held in a massive hall, carved from crystalline rock that refracted the lavender sunlight into rainbow patterns across the floor. Hundreds of Zytherans observed from balconies and platforms, their telepathic pulses blending into a soft wave of curiosity, suspicion, and mild excitement. Ilara and Orion entered, side by side, their posture perfectly aligned as practiced. Ilara felt the tiniest flutter of nerves but reminded herself, humans were unpredictable. That unpredictability, combined with intelligence and confidence, was what made them special. Thalen stepped forward, projecting calm assurance. "These are humans," he announced to the assembly, "who represent not only their species but the value of unity, cooperation, and adaptability. Observe their bond, for it reflects qualities you may find beneficial in future alliances." Ilara nodded subtly at Orion. He gave her a faint, almost imperceptible nod back. They moved through the motions, performing small gestures of partnership, synchronized walking, matching hand movements, and gentle, respectful touches that conveyed connection without intimacy. The Zytherans watched closely, analyzing every detail. After the ceremony, Orion turned to Alara quietly. "You did well," he said. "They are assessing not just your actions, but the energy you project. Humans have a certain dynamic energy that others can't replicate easily. We must use it wisely." Alara sighed, feeling a mixture of relief and fatigue. "I don't think I realized how much acting energy this would require. I'm exhausted and it's only the first day." Orion's expression softened slightly. "Adaptability is part of human strength. You are learning quickly. That is valuable." Alara smiled faintly, grateful for the rare compliment. "I just hope I don't mess up." "You won't," Orion said. "Just remember, humans are unpredictable in ways the Zytherans can't anticipate. Use that. Intelligence and creativity will carry you through." The following days were a whirlwind of learning and observation. Alara studied Zytheran customs in real time, noting subtle cues in their body language and telepathic expressions. Orion practiced ceremonial appearances, refining gestures and speech patterns to project the image of a competent, reliable human husband. They argued occasionally, over trivial matters like who should initiate greetings or how to respond to a specific telepathic inquiry. But each argument ended with careful compromise. Alara realized something important. Humans were not only adaptable in intellect but resilient in collaboration. The partnership, though initially artificial, was starting to feel functional. One evening, while studying Zytheran archives, Alara noticed something strange. A section of the database contained information about human adaptability, hypothetical experiments the Zytherans had observed over centuries. Humans were described as chaotic yet brilliant, resourceful in ways no other species matched. Orion glanced at her screen, raising an eyebrow. "They know," he said quietly. "They've been watching humans for centuries. Perhaps they underestimated us until now." Alara nodded. "It explains why they're so focused on this marital bond test. They're testing more than appearances. They're testing us, how humans think, how humans respond under pressure, how we work together." Orion leaned back, a faint smile on his lips. "Then let's give them a show, and maybe show them why humans are exceptional." Their first true challenge arrived unexpectedly. During a ceremonial demonstration in the Zytheran Council chambers, an advanced holographic system malfunctioned. Patterns of light and energy swirled unpredictably, threatening to overload the delicate network. Panic flickered among the Zytherans. Alara's heart raced. She analyzed the situation quickly. The system's algorithm had failed because of an unpredicted variable, human presence energy. Using her understanding of both Zytheran logic and human intuition, she accessed the interface and manually recalibrated the holographic matrix. Small adjustments, rapid calculations, and a little improvisation later, the system stabilized. The Zytherans were impressed. "Humans," Thalen said, "your presence is unlike any other species. You are unpredictable yet brilliant." Orion's eyes met Alara's, and for a brief moment all the pretense of their marriage dropped away. They were partners in the truest sense, combining intellect, creativity, and courage. Alara allowed herself a small smile. "Perhaps pretending isn't so bad," she whispered. Orion smirked faintly. "Perhaps not, but remember, we still have a year to go." Alara laughed softly, a sound full of relief and exhilaration. For the first time since receiving Orion's impossible proposal, she felt ready. Humans were adaptable, clever, and unpredictable. And now on Zythera, that unpredictability was exactly what they needed to survive, to impress, and to thrive. As the lavender sun dipped below the crystalline horizon, casting the council chambers in shifting colors, Alara realized something important. This mission was more than diplomatic appearances. It was proof that humans, clever, resourceful, and indomitable, could rise to challenges no other species could. and she intended to prove it. Alara had thought she understood Zythera, its beauty, its customs, its subtle, flowing telepathic communication. But nothing could have prepared her for the crisis that erupted only 2 weeks into their diplomatic mission. It began in the council chamber, a vast hall carved from transparent crystal that allowed light to scatter like liquid rainbows across the floor. The Zytherans had arranged a demonstration of an ancient artifact, a device of unknown origin capable of bending space and energy in ways humans had only theorized about. They called it the Luminara Prism. This artifact, Thalen explained, his luminous eyes flickering gold with excitement, represents both our heritage and our technology. It must be handled carefully. Observe, but do not interfere. Humans, this is a test of your perception and restraint. Alara watched the artifact hover in the center of the chamber, rotating slowly. Light patterns danced around it in a mesmerizing display, forming geometric shapes that shifted as if alive. Orion stood beside her, arms folded, eyes steady. Everything seemed controlled, precise. And then, without warning, the prism emitted a low hum that quickly escalated into a sharp, vibrating resonance. The energy within the chamber warped. Floor panels pulsed with light, and tiny fissures appeared along the crystal walls. The Zytherans gasped, their emotions projecting waves of fear and confusion. Alara's mind raced. This was not a malfunction they had anticipated. The prism was reacting to human energy. The telepathic presence humans naturally emitted was interacting with the artifact in unpredictable ways. "Stay calm," Orion said, his voice firm but low. "We analyze first, act second." Alara nodded, even as her pulse raced. She approached the console controlling the prism, scanning data streams projected into midair. Patterns flashed too quickly for the Zytherans to process. Algorithms, energy flows, and holographic matrices converged in chaotic symmetry. "It's overloading," she muttered under her breath. "The human energy is causing a resonance spike. If it continues—" She didn't finish the sentence. The implications were catastrophic. Thalen's projection flickered with worry. "You must stabilize it. Humans, your species is capable. Show us what you can do." Alara glanced at Orion. "I can attempt a manual recalibration," she said, her fingers hovering over the console. "But I'll need you to synchronize with me." Human intuition plus human adaptability might stabilize it, at least temporarily. Orion nodded. "We can do it." For the next tense minutes, Alara and Orion worked in perfect, unspoken harmony. She read the prism's fluctuating patterns, recognizing subtle cues that no Zytheran algorithm had anticipated. Orion adjusted energy feedback loops instinctively, moving where she could not, guided by intuition rather than calculated knowledge. "Left quadrant energy spike, reroute to containment field," Alara instructed. Orion executed the maneuver without hesitation. "Containment field stable," he confirmed, diverting overflow. The prism's hum slowly returned to a manageable frequency. Light patterns ceased their chaotic dance, stabilizing into calm, orderly flows. The fissures in the chamber vanished as if never there. Alara exhaled, finally allowing herself a small, relieved smile. Orion gave a subtle nod, almost imperceptible, but it was enough. Together, they had saved the day. The Zytherans stared at them in stunned silence. For a species that valued logic and control above all, this demonstration of improvisation and creativity was remarkable. Thalen's eyes flickered between gold and deep indigo, a sign of both admiration and reconsideration. "Humans," Thalen said finally, his voice resonant and calm, "your species is unlike any we have encountered. You are chaotic, unpredictable, yet brilliant. You have stabilized what could have destroyed this chamber. We acknowledge your capabilities." Alara felt a rush of pride. For the first time, the Zytherans had not only accepted her species, they had recognized its unique strengths. Humans were not just clever observers, They were active problem solvers, capable of seeing patterns no other species could detect. Orion's hand brushed hers briefly, a gesture of silent acknowledgement. Alara met his gaze. There was no pretense here. In this moment, they were more than acting partners. They were collaborators, each bringing the best of human ingenuity to the challenge. Later, in the quiet of their quarters, Alara reviewed the incident. The prism had responded to human emotional and mental energy in ways even the Zytherans had not fully understood. Humans were inherently unpredictable, not reckless, but creative, adaptive, capable of solutions that no calculated algorithm could produce. Orion entered the room carrying 2 cups of synthesized tea. "You were brilliant today," he said, handing her a cup. "You saw patterns they couldn't. You acted before any hesitation. That's very human." Alara took a sip, letting the warmth calm her nerves. "It's terrifying," she admitted. "I've studied their behavior for months, but nothing could prepare me for something that reacts to us to humans." "That's exactly it," Orion said. "Humans are unpredictable. It's our greatest strength and sometimes our greatest liability. Today it saved lives and earned respect. Tomorrow it might save worlds." Alara nodded, feeling a strange sense of unity with him. She had thought pretending to be married for a year would be awkward, perhaps even tedious. But now she realized that the closeness, the collaboration, the constant interaction, it was preparing them for challenges no single human or Zytheran could handle alone. The next day, the Zytherans held a council meeting to discuss the incident. Alara and Orion attended, side by side, their gestures and expressions carefully synchronized. The council expressed both concern and admiration. Humans, they concluded, were exceptional observers and problem solvers, traits invaluable for interstellar cooperation. Thalen spoke directly to them. "You have proven that your species' unpredictability is not a weakness. It is a strength. You adapt, you solve, you survive. This is why humans are respected and why we will continue to trust you in matters of diplomacy and technology." Alara felt a thrill. Respect from a species that had observed humans for centuries, yet never truly understood them. This was more than validation. It was proof. Humans, in their unpredictable brilliance, were special. Orion's gaze met hers during the council session, and for the first time, the pretense of their marriage felt irrelevant. Their partnership, though initially artificial, had grown real in its effectiveness and trust. Humans had survived challenges no other species could, and together, they had demonstrated this undeniable fact. That night, as Zythera's twin moons rose over the crystalline mountains, Alara walked alone along the observation deck. The planet's violet glow reflected in her eyes, mingling with her thoughts. Humans were underestimated in every corner of the galaxy. Yet here, on Zythera, she had proven something profound. Their unpredictability, creativity, and resilience could turn chaos into order. Orion joined her silently, standing close but not touching. "You're thinking about today," he said. "I am," she admitted. "It's incredible, isn't it, how different we are, humans I mean, and yet effective." Orion nodded. "Effective. And now we must prepare for the next challenge. Zythera will test us again in ways we cannot predict, but we're ready, aren't we?" Alara smiled faintly, feeling a surge of confidence. "Yes, we are." In that quiet moment she realized something else. Pretending to be married for a year was no longer a burden. It was a partnership, a collaboration, and perhaps in the unpredictable vastness of the universe, it was exactly what humans were meant to do: adapt, improvise, and thrive where others could not. And as the twin moons reflected across the crystalline surface below, Alara allowed herself a small, private thought. Humans were exceptional. And so was Orion Kale, at least as a partner in brilliance and strategy. The rest, she decided, could wait. The mission was far from over, but for the first time, Alara felt certain. Humans could face anything, even alien artifacts that bent reality itself. The weeks on Zythera passed in a blur of diplomatic briefings, ceremonial performances, and endless observation. Ilara had grown accustomed to the planet's violet skies, shimmering oceans, and the constant, gentle pulse of Zytheran telepathy. Yet she knew that beneath the serene beauty, challenges lurked, tests designed to evaluate not only humans' intellect but their adaptability and trustworthiness. Orion Kale had become a strangely reliable presence. Though she still found his calm, calculating demeanor intimidating at times, she noticed small cracks in his armor, moments when he hesitated, when his sharp confidence gave way to quiet vulnerability. It was during one of these quiet moments that Ilara discovered a secret. She had been exploring a restricted section of the Zytheran archives, unofficially, of course, when she found a record labeled Human Empathy Gene, unique case. Her curiosity piqued, she began reading. The record detailed a rare phenomenon. Orion Kale's species was generally incapable of true empathy. Yet he possessed a unique human-like gene, granting him the ability to sense emotions and connect with others on a level no other being in his society could. This explained his uncanny ability to navigate human and alien interactions alike. But more importantly, it revealed a vulnerability. If discovered, this secret could undermine the entire mission, or worse, expose Orion to political danger among his own people. Ilara felt a surge of responsibility. She had to protect this secret, and in doing so, she realized that their partnership had grown beyond a mere pretense. Trust, she understood now, was the foundation of survival in a universe full of rules, unknowns, and calculated observers. The next challenge arrived unexpectedly. The Zytherans announced a high-stakes test designed to evaluate their human guests' unity and problem-solving under pressure. They would enter a zero-gravity chamber, simulating the planet's unstable energy fields. The challenge required coordination, intuition, and trust. Any mistake could trigger alarms or worse, harm to the participants. Ilara and Orion entered the chamber, side by side. The air shimmered and the gravity shifted erratically, pulling them in different directions. Panels of luminous energy floated around them, responding to movement and thought. The Zytherans observed from above, projecting subtle expectations through telepathic pulses. "This is it," Orion said quietly. "We must move as one. Every action counts." Ilara nodded. "Agreed." "Ready, ready," the challenge began. Panels of energy shifted unpredictably, requiring them to reach specific points simultaneously. At first, coordination was difficult. Ilara's analytical mind calculated paths precisely, but Orion's instinctive reactions sometimes clashed with her logic. A misstep could trigger failure. "Move left. Now," Orion called, grabbing her hand and pulling her to a floating platform. "Too early," Ilara shouted, twisting midair to compensate. They collided lightly, almost losing their footing but recovered. Step by step, they adapted. Ilara began to anticipate Orion's instinctive movements, and he, in turn, learned to trust her precise calculations. Together, they became a single, fluid unit, moving faster and more efficiently than either could have alone. During a particularly difficult sequence, a panel began to destabilize, spinning wildly. The Zytheran observers projected increasing concern. Ilara realized that their success required a risk, one that might appear reckless to an outside observer. "Orion," she shouted, "we need to override the central panel, but we must synchronize perfectly or it will trigger a cascade." Orion's eyes narrowed. "I trust you." "Let's do it." They leapt simultaneously, hands gripping the unstable panel. Ilara manipulated the energy flows while Orion adjusted their trajectory, using his unique empathy to sense the panel's resonance and respond intuitively. Sparks of light danced around them, and for a moment it seemed impossible. But then the panel stabilized, and the chamber's energy fields returned to normal. The Zytherans were silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in telepathic applause, projecting waves of astonishment and respect. "You have surpassed expectations," Thalen said, his tone resonant. "Humans, your unity and adaptability are remarkable. Your species' qualities are exceptional." Alara exhaled, her heart pounding. She met Orion's gaze. There was no pretense now, only mutual recognition of their combined skill, trust, and ingenuity. Humans, she realized again, thrived under pressure in ways no other species could match. After the chamber test, Orion led Alara to a quiet observation deck. The twin moons of Zythera hung low in the violet sky, their reflections shimmering across the crystalline oceans below. "You were brilliant," he said softly. "I've worked with humans before, but today you were extraordinary." Alara smiled faintly. "We worked together, that's what counts. Your intuition, my calculations, we complemented each other perfectly." Orion's gaze lingered. "There's something you don't know about me," he said, hesitating for the first time. Alara raised an eyebrow. "Something I don't know," he nodded. "I possess a rare gene, human-like empathy. It allows me to feel and understand emotions in ways my species cannot. It is dangerous if discovered, but it's part of why I can work with you and with humans effectively." Alara's pulse quickened. This revelation explained so much. His insight, his ability to predict her actions, his calm yet intuitive handling of every situation. She realized how much trust he was placing in her by sharing this secret. "I understand," she said quietly, "and I won't tell anyone, I promise." Orion's eyes softened. "Good, trust is essential, and now more than ever we must rely on it." The following days tested that trust even further. Zytheran officials presented increasingly complex challenges, intricate social negotiations, rapid problem-solving under telepathic scrutiny, and multi-layered ceremonial performances. Every success reinforced their reputation, but every test also required them to anticipate each other's moves, thoughts, and reactions. Alara discovered a new level of respect for Orion. His empathy gene allowed him to read subtle human cues she didn't even notice herself. Yet he trusted her intelligence and decisiveness completely. Together, they formed a partnership that balanced instinct with analysis, emotion with reason, unpredictability with strategy. During one particularly tense diplomatic session, an alien delegate attempted to provoke conflict subtly, testing the humans' ability to respond under pressure. Alara noticed the shift in telepathic energy and adjusted her response before Orion even realized the provocation. Yet Orion subtly guided their tone and gestures, ensuring they maintained decorum. The situation diffused without a trace of hostility, impressing the Zytheran Council. Later, as they walked through the crystalline corridors, Alara reflected on the events. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, yet here they were, navigating challenges no other species could. Their unpredictability was a strength, their adaptability a weapon. And trust, between humans themselves and between humans and others, was the key to survival and success. One evening, while reviewing mission reports, Alara realized something profound. Humans' ability to improvise, to take risks, to collaborate seamlessly under pressure was not just remarkable, it was revolutionary. They could face situations no algorithm, no carefully calculated protocol could predict. Orion observed her quietly, noting the intensity in her eyes. "You're thinking about the bigger picture," he said softly. "I am," she replied. "Humans, we're unpredictable, but that unpredictability is our greatest strength, and we've proven it here over and over." He nodded. "And together we've proven it even further. That's what the Zytherans may not fully understand yet. Humans don't just survive. We adapt, we innovate, and we thrive, even under impossible circumstances." Alara smiled faintly, a mixture of pride and determination. "Then we need to keep showing them. Every challenge, every test, every mission, humans will rise to it." Orion's gaze lingered. And perhaps by doing so, we'll also discover more about ourselves. As the twin moons cast their violet light across the observation deck, Alara felt a quiet certainty. Humans were exceptional, their ingenuity and adaptability unmatched. And in the bond forged through trust, respect, and collaboration, she and Orion had become something greater than mere colleagues or pretended spouses. They had become a team capable of meeting any challenge the universe could throw at them. For the first time, Alara realized that the mission was no longer about appearances or diplomacy. It was about proving in real time that humans, clever, resourceful, and unpredictable, could excel where no other species could. And she intended to ensure that everyone, alien or human, understood it fully. The final weeks of their mission on Zythera had a tense, electrifying air. Every observation, every interaction, and every ceremony now carried the weight of culmination. Alara and Orion had faced challenges that tested their intellect, adaptability, and trust. But the final test, Thalen warned, would reveal the ultimate measure of human capability. The Zytherans had arranged a planetary summit to evaluate not just their technical skills, but their social and emotional coordination. Leaders from neighboring star systems joined virtually, their telepathic presence a soft but perceptible pressure on the humans. Alara felt a familiar flutter in her chest, not fear exactly, but a mixture of anticipation and responsibility. "This is it," Orion said quietly as they prepared to enter the summit hall. "Everything we've done, every demonstration of adaptability and cooperation comes together here. Focus, stay synchronized, trust each other." Alara nodded. "We've survived worse. We can do this." The summit hall was breathtaking. Transparent walls revealed the violet oceans and crystalline mountains beyond. Floating platforms and luminescent energy displays shimmered in every direction. At the center, a holographic interface projected simulations of interstellar scenarios, disasters, negotiations, and technological puzzles that required rapid solutions. Thalen greeted them with a rare smile. "Humans, this summit will measure your species' true capacity. Every action you take, every choice you make will be observed. Your goal is not perfection, it is adaptability, innovation, and cooperation." Alara took a deep breath. She had learned much about the Zytherans' expectations, yet she knew that the final challenge would not allow for preparation alone. Improvisation, intuition, and trust, human qualities, would be the deciding factor. The simulation began. A planetary system appeared in holographic projection, showing multiple planets in potential conflict. Resources were scarce, and rapid decisions were required to prevent disaster. Alara and Orion analyzed the variables, communicating in subtle gestures and shared glances. "Planet Eris is destabilizing," Alara said quietly. "We need to redirect energy from the satellite grid to prevent a collapse." Orion nodded. "I'll handle grid synchronization. You calculate stabilization sequences. Ready?" "Ready." The next several minutes were a blur of calculations, telepathic observations, and precise adjustments. Alara manipulated simulations, predicting outcomes, while Orion acted intuitively, adjusting unforeseen variables in real time. Together, they created a system of rapid corrections, saving multiple simulated planets from catastrophe. The observers, Zytherans and other species alike, projected pulses of astonishment and approval. Humans, they realized, were capable of thinking and acting in ways no other species could. Unpredictable, yes, but remarkably effective. Midway through the summit, the most complex challenge emerged. A massive, multi-layered puzzle involving alien technology, diplomacy, and ethical decisions. Decisions had to balance survival, resource allocation, and the well-being of multiple populations. One wrong choice could trigger simulated failure, reflecting poorly on the humans. Alara's mind raced. She saw potential patterns, loopholes, and strategies that others could not. Orion, reading her cues and contributing instinctively, adjusted actions to counter unforeseen consequences. Sequence the energy nodes in a spiral pattern, Alara instructed. That will stabilize the simulation while minimizing collateral impact. Orion acted immediately, his hands moving over the holographic interface with practiced precision. Synchronizing now. We need one more adjustment to prevent feedback loops. Alara quickly implemented the final correction. The system stabilized completely. The simulation resolved perfectly, leaving the planetary system safe and balanced. The Zytheran Council erupted in a wave of telepathic admiration and excitement. Thalen stepped forward, his expression serious but impressed. "Humans," he said, "you have exceeded every expectation. Your species' ability to adapt, innovate, and cooperate is unmatched. Not only have you solved challenges that our algorithms could not predict, you have done so with ingenuity and trust that surpasses our understanding. You have proven your worth, and our confidence in humans is complete." Alara exhaled deeply, a smile of relief and pride spreading across her face. Orion's hand brushed hers briefly, a small gesture of shared triumph. Their pretense had grown into genuine partnership, and in that moment, it no longer mattered that they had started the mission under a forced arrangement. After the summit, Alara was granted unprecedented access to the Zytheran archives. Rows of shimmering consoles displayed knowledge accumulated over millennia, advanced technology, interstellar maps, and insights into biological and cultural evolution across dozens of systems. Her heart raced as she realized the potential discoveries. "This is unbelievable," she whispered, running her fingers over the interface. "All this knowledge finally accessible." Orion stood beside her, watching with quiet satisfaction. "You've earned this. The success of the mission is as much yours as it is ours collectively." Alara looked at him, suddenly aware of how much their relationship had evolved. What began as a forced performance had become a collaboration of intellect, strategy, and trust. Humans, she reflected, were exceptional not just because of their ingenuity, but because they could forge alliances, adapt under pressure, and rise to challenges that seemed insurmountable. Orion's gaze softened. "You've shown them the true strength of humans, and you've proven it to yourself as well." The following day, a ceremonial dissolution of their marriage was held. Zytheran leaders and observers attended, projecting admiration for the humans' accomplishments. The act was symbolic, yet it carried weight. Alara and Orion stood together, maintaining composure, while the council acknowledged the completion of the experiment. As the ceremony concluded, Thalen addressed them directly. "Your mission is complete. Your species has shown what humans can achieve when guided by intellect, creativity, and trust. We will remember this demonstration, and it will influence alliances, technology sharing, and diplomatic relations for generations. You have proven that humans are not only capable but extraordinary." Alara felt a rush of pride. The year-long mission, the challenges, the tests of trust and ingenuity, it had all culminated in this acknowledgement. Humans were no longer underestimated on Zythera or in the broader galaxy. Orion turned to her, a faint smile playing across his face. "So, this is the part where we pretend to part ways professionally, officially, but unofficially." Alara raised an eyebrow, a small laugh escaping her. "Unofficially. Humans thrive together," Orion said, eyes glinting. "We make a good team, and I have a feeling this is only the beginning." Alara chuckled. "You mean next mission?" "Perhaps," he said, grinning. "Or perhaps we simply keep proving humans' ingenuity wherever the galaxy needs it." For the first time, Alara realized the truth. Their partnership had become real, forged in trust, collaboration, and a shared understanding of human capability. The pretense was gone, but the respect and connection remained. Humans had risen to challenges no other species could face, and they had done it together. As they walked back toward their quarters, the violet light of Zythera's twin moons casting long reflections across the crystalline streets, Alara felt a sense of accomplishment that went beyond personal success. Humans had been tested, observed, and underestimated, and they had thrived. She glanced at Orion, a teasing thought crossing her mind. "So do we really have to share a bed next time?" Orion smirked, but the answer didn't matter. The point was no longer about appearances, pretense, or obligation. It was about humans, resilience, adaptability, and ingenuity, and that was a lesson the universe could never ignore. Alara realized that their story of survival, partnership, and human brilliance was far from over. There would be new challenges, new missions, new opportunities to demonstrate what humans could achieve, and together, she and Orion would face them. The mission was complete, but the journey of human ingenuity had only just begun. And as Zythera's twin moons shone above, Alara knew one undeniable truth: humans were exceptional, and the universe had no choice but to recognize it.